The day they left him, the wind was so cold it felt like knives. Old George Miller was sitting on the wooden step outside his small countryside house, warming his hands over a weak fire made from dried wood scraps when a rusty pickup truck rolled up the dirt road. His eldest son, Robert, was driving. Robert's wife and their 3 children were squeezed into the back seat, surrounded by tied blankets, suitcases, and bags. George stood up slowly, his joints aching, smiling the way grandfathers do when they see children. "Where are you all going?" he asked, his voice full of hope. Robert didn't look at him. He tightened the rope around a suitcase. "To the city, Dad. I got a job at a construction site. Better pay." George kept smiling, but the smile started to sting. That's good. When will you come back for me?" Silence. Even the truck engine idled quietly. His daughter-in-law spoke without turning around. "The apartment there is small. The kids have school. We'll send money every month." George stepped closer, reaching out to touch his youngest granddaughter's cheek. She hid her face in her mother's coat. Robert finally looked up. His eyes were hard, ashamed, angry. Everything mixed together. "This is better, Dad. You'll manage here. You always do." Then the truck moved. No hug, no proper goodbye. Just dust rising off the road and the sound of tires fading into the distance, leaving the old man alone under a gray winter sky. That evening, George didn't turn on the lamp. He sat in the dark, listening to coyotes in the distance, feeling the cold slip beneath his thin jacket. 74 years old, and suddenly nobody needed him anymore. Days blended into weeks. The town saw less of him. He stopped visiting the diner, stopped chuckling at old Sam's terrible jokes. He went to his small vegetable patch at dawn, came back at dusk, ate whatever leftovers he had, and slept. People whispered, "Poor old George, left behind like an unwanted dog. What kind of children do that?" But no one opened their door wide enough to say, "Come live with us." One night, the coldest of the year, the temperature dropped so low the water pipes froze. George woke up coughing, deep, painful coughs that sounded like dry wood snapping. He didn't have the strength to make coffee. He wrapped himself in every blanket he owned and sat beside the cold fireplace, shivering, wondering if this was how it would end. That's when he heard it. Small voices outside, crying. At first, he thought he was imagining it, but the crying continued. George pulled himself to the door. In the pale moonlight, he saw 3 figures, 2 small children and a young woman, shaking with cold, lips turning blue, sharing one torn blanket. The woman collapsed to her knees when she saw him. "Sir, please. We were traveling to my husband in the next county. The bus dropped us when we ran out of money. The kids, they can't walk anymore. Just one night, please." George looked at the empty house behind him. Then he looked at the little boy whose teeth were chattering like clicking stones. Without a word, he opened the door wider. That night, he gave them the only mattress, the only thick blanket. He lit the fireplace again, even though firewood was scarce, and cooked the last of his soup, thinning it with water so it would stretch for 4 instead of 1. The children fell asleep the moment they lay down. The mother, Rachel, tried to thank him, but he waved it away. "Sleep," he said. "Tomorrow will be better." In the morning, Rachel insisted on cleaning the house, sweeping the porch, washing the soot-stained pans. The children followed George to the garden, laughing when he showed them how to pull frozen carrots from the ground. They stayed 3 days, then a week, then 2. Word spread, a family of strangers living with the abandoned old man. And then something beautiful started happening. Mrs. Walker brought over a sack of groceries for the guests. Mr. Harris dropped off an extra blanket because the nights are brutal. Slowly, the house that had been silent began to fill with life again. Children running, the smell of warm food, someone softly humming an old lullaby. Rachel turned out to be an amazing cook. The kids helped George in the garden, and George started smiling again. Real smiles, the kind that reached the eyes. One evening, sitting by the fire eating warm bread and soup, Rachel asked softly, "You saved our lives. Why are you so kind to strangers when your own family?" George poked at the fire and stayed quiet for a long time. Then he said, "When my children left, I thought my value died with their love. I thought if my own kids didn't need me, no one ever would. But these days, when your little one calls me Grandpa, when you smile because the food feels like home, I feel useful again. I feel alive." He stared into the glowing embers. "I was waiting to be chosen by the people who were supposed to love me. But maybe love isn't only about who we're born to. Maybe it's also about who we choose to open our broken doors for." Months passed. Robert sent money sometimes, thin envelopes with short notes. George kept every dollar untouched. Instead, he repaired the leaking roof, bought 2 goats, and planted vegetables along the fence. Neighborhood kids now gathered every evening to hear George's stories. They called him Grandpa George, and whenever a tired traveler knocked, the door opened before the knock finished. One day, a shiny new sedan stopped outside. Robert stepped out, older, thinner, eyes worn down. He had come to take his father to the city at last. There was room now, he said. George stepped outside, holding the hand of Rachel's youngest child, the others peeking out behind him. He looked at his son for a long moment. Then he smiled, the same smile that had returned the winter night he opened his door. "Thank you, son," George said gently, "but I'm already home." Robert drove away that evening. This time, George didn't watch the dust. He turned back toward the laughter inside his small house. Meaning stays the same. If the people who were supposed to choose you walk away, your worth never belonged to them. Sometimes the greatest family we'll ever have is the one we build with open doors and warm fires when the world is cold. Sometimes the love we're waiting for is the love we decide to give, and when we stop waiting to be picked and start picking up others, we stop being abandoned. We become home for others and finally for ourselves.